or both? Mixture.
Both.
Okay.
Whatever feels comfortable. All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Eric Velasquez. I'm Alamo City Agenda, and we are here with our first guest of the season for season 3. And these seasons come way too quick because these election seasons are really quick, right?
Yeah.
So we are here with our guest for City Council District 7, Marina Alderete. Okay. I knew I was going to mess it up. Gavino.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So how was your Christmas and everything? Your New Year?
It was great.
Yeah?
Like we were talking about, I have 2 daughters, and honestly, the holidays are so cool.
Yeah.
With little ones, because they're just so excited.
Do they still believe in Santa Claus?
Yes. Yeah, they do. And this year we had a holiday party, and we had a Santa come, and it's just so cute. Like when the little kids entered, they were like, like Santa's at this house, and it was just everything.
Just don't do what we did. We had the grandpa dressed up as Santa, and my son's like, "Grandpa?" So I'm like, "Oh no,
You knew.
no."
You knew, right.
So this year we did an AI Santa. Have you ever heard of those?
No. What is this?
So because we were gonna present to our kids that we were going to Disney World, and I was like, well, how are we going to do the Santa thing? Because we don't want it to be from Santa. We just want to say, hey, I hope you enjoyed the presents.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents have one more thing to do. And so I was looking, and I found this AI Santa. You could type in whatever you wanted to say, and he says it for you in video.
Really cool.
And I was like, that works.
That's awesome. How did your kids react?
They were confused. As far as like we're showing them the video of Disney World, and they were like, and then my son started playing with one of his toys. I'm like, oh no, he's already not interested already.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not gonna work. But then after the video stopped, well, because we went to Disneyland before, and we video recorded all the princesses to say, hey, Cohen and Mavis, this is Mulan, or this is Elsa. Can't wait to see you, blah, blah, blah. And so we put that in the video. And so we were like, you're going to Disney World. They're like, what? So
That's really cool.
AI Santas. You guys might want to check it out.
I wanted to check that out. Yeah.
Okay. So District 7, this came out of nowhere, right? Were you already thinking about doing it to begin with, or was it?
I think that, I've had a lot of community involvement over the years. So just a little quick history. Like I was born and raised here, and actually born and raised in District 7,
Okay.
And so graduated at St. Mary's University, and then I moved to Chicago and worked for a company, and they said they'd pay for my master's 100%. So I was like, okay. And so ended up receiving my MBA from DePaul. But I always knew I wanted to come back, and my husband, he's from Brownsville.
Okay.
And so we met at St. Mary's actually. And so he's just like, oh, you moved to Brownsville or San Antonio? And so San Antonio, and then immediately, I started working at Rackspace at the time.
Okay.
So this was 2011. But, I knew that I was working in corporate world and stuff, but there was always a part of me that needed to give back to the community. So, I just volunteered my time on the side, whether it was serving on the Bexar County Child Welfare Board or the VIA Board, or just other ways for me to use like my skills and resources to give back to the community. So I think being a public servant has always just been a passion of mine.
Well, your dad was a city councilman.
He was a city councilman too. And so, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree and stuff. And so, but honestly, I think it's growing up in a household that's so focused on community and giving back to the community. It's just how I was raised,
right.
And so I also, when I was thinking about, hey, do I want to run or not? This was years ago. I started talking to different elected officials at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, and seeing and trying to understand their different roles, but also how effective they are, and stuff.
Right.
And so I felt like with my skill set and with my experience, I'm going to be the most effective at the local level, and so just had that data point in the back of my mind. I thought, well, I think everybody thought that Anna was going to serve the full term. So this timeline did come up a little bit quick. It was a surprise, but we activated quickly, and I'm like, hey, it's an open seat.
Yeah.
I think timing is
timing
is everything in politics and stuff, and so we had to activate it, and here we are.
Right, and so you did have a thought of possibly doing it after return. Okay.
Yeah.
So what did your dad's involvement? Because he was for the exact same seat that you're running for. What did that play a factor at all, or not really? Just
I mean, my parents are obviously excited, and they're, we grew up block walking, and stuff, and so it's just kind of that campaign mode, and so it brings campaigns are a lot like startups, right? You got to go fast, and roles and responsibilities, who's doing what and who's activating on this and that and stuff. And so, I know both my parents are making phone calls and stuff. And so they're excited and obviously very supportive and digging in to help.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think, have you done block walking already or not yet?
We're gearing up and getting all the lists and
so
stuff.
What do you think is going to be the primary concern from the public?
It's interesting because I have talked to a good chunk of community stakeholders already, as soon as Wednesday people were calling. And, you hear, I would say two things have kind of surfaced to the top. And granted, this is only a couple of data points, is like this street safety, not necessarily in terms of crime, but like speed and people are speeding on this and people are speeding on that, and stuff. Or just there's these arteries right through all of our neighborhoods, and people may be speeding down Wilson, and stuff. And so that's something that impacts people every day. I can attest to it because like I live across the street from a playground, and you're seeing people speed all the time, and you're just like, there's literally a basketball court and a playground and a softball field, and you're just nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
it's very, very nerve-wracking. And I will also say there's been a lot of zoning cases in District 7, and so I think people are figuring out how neighborhood associations and the community, their immediate communities, react to those. And zoning is complex. It's not easy. No. And so, I've started seeing that as probably a pressing issue.
Right. Yeah. And I've seen with our own organizations, like they're really like, there's somebody trying to build next to our area. They're like, we need to do petitions. But that's the thing is the neighborhood is strong if you have a good organization. So do you feel District 7 has multiple like great organizations, or you think maybe it's lacking a little bit? Or
no, I mean, I think that so far what I've seen, or at least as we've been strategizing, I mean, there's so many great neighborhood associations. I belong to Woodlawn Lake Neighborhood Association, but obviously like the Monticello and the Donaldson, the Jefferson, all the Bronze Station East and West. There's the Thunderbird Hills one. Like there's a lot of really strong neighborhood associations. I mean, there's a lot of residential properties in District 7, and so there's, neighborhood associations are strong, and I think it's about talking to every single one of them, listening. And also District 7 is kind of funky, right? Like, it's all the way kind of by Woodlawn Lake, but then it goes all the way up past 1604. Right. So you're just, it's
gerrymandered.
It's a stretch. And so, I obviously will I'm sure I'm going to come to learn that the issues on kind of the northern part of District 7 are going to be much different than from the southern part of District 7. So, but it's just about, for me, one of my priorities is going in and listening and hearing people's concerns and activating accordingly.
Exactly. And I'm sorry if you see me look, because there's comments coming. So, so don't, I am paying attention.
He saw, oh, you're boring.
Let me play the Scrabble over here. No, just like, okay, so Lisa Martinez says, good morning.
Morning. Morning, Lisa.
And she says, ask, what accomplishments do you already have in the community that would encourage people to vote for you?
Oh, thanks. I would say, like I said, born and raised here is not an accomplishment, just, whatever. But I do think that does give me some good experience of knowing the community really well. With VIA, for instance, when I was on the VIA board, we did the, oh my God, how is the campaign name escaping me? But we were able to secure more funding for public transportation. What was the darn campaign slogan? Sorry, it's because I'm on the spot. Maybe
is it the VIA link?
No. Keep SA moving. Thank you. That was the big, and it was during COVID. But like, for instance, with public transportation, it's hard because like I lived in Chicago and I was completely relying on public transportation. Like, what a good public transportation system looks like. I moved back to Texas and I'm like, oh my God, but it was also crazy because when I came back and I was working at Rackspace and looking at, my finances differently from my rent to my transportation. Like in Chicago, my transportation costs for the month were around $150 because my Chicago Transit Authority, their buses and rails, that was like $90 a month, unlimited. And then, at that time, Uber and Lyft was in existence. So I would take cabs, like when I would go out and stuff. So $150 of my paychecks were going to transportation.
That's less than a car payment.
Then I came here, car payment, insurance, maintenance, gas, like so much of your check is towards transportation. And I'm like, this is absurd. Like, this is absurd, and stuff. And so that's why I've always kind of had a passion towards public transportation. It's needed. I think it's what makes it connects big cities. We saw during COVID, I mean, VIA still was functioning really well because it put people, essential workers, in touch with their jobs. It connected people to their jobs. It connects people to families. It connects people to opportunities. And so one of VIA's biggest, longest thorns in the organization side is that we don't have the funding that we need to build a better public transportation system, right? Because it's kind of the chicken and the egg. People can always complain like, oh, we don't have a good public transportation system, but if you're not investing in one, you're never going to get a great one and stuff. And so, anyways, really part of that campaign to get VIA some more public transportation dollars out of our city sales tax, and that was successful. So that was
that was a close one though, wasn't it? Because people were like, why, and I mean that was a hard fight.
Well, it is hard, because not everybody takes the bus,
right?
But one of the ways we could help sell it is, hey, when you're stuck at stoplights, I mean, do you want less cars on the road? In order to get less cars on the road, got to get people in buses and in mass transportation. So that, I mean, it was good. I think, I can't remember the percentage points that it passed, but it was, we're successful. So it was great. I was a part of the Bexar County Child Welfare Board, and that one is always a tough one. The Bexar County Child Welfare, I mean, because I am a mother, but as a person, when you see how many vulnerable kids we have in our community, I will say those meeting days were exhausting because you're looking at a chart with numbers, but I'm like, oh, those are kids. They are kids. They are our kids. Like, they are in our community. And that just takes a lot of it would drain me, honestly,
Yeah.
emotionally. I was just like, oh my God. But one of the things that we were able to do is we started this pilot program where basically, kids in CPS are getting cared for, but we started looking at recidivism and like how many abusers are doing this again and again, and really kind of studying those numbers, and which is disturbing to see and do, but it's like you've got to dig in because we got to get to the source, so that these kids aren't abused. Like kids being abused is the reaction. What is triggering the adults to do it?
I mean, look at San Antonio. We had a huge spike in domestic violence cases.
Absolutely.
It's just like, I don't know if it just highlighted even more, or it was always there and it just needed that little trigger. But it's just so bad. It's
so bad. And when you look at housing insecurity, when you look at job insecurity, all of those factors played a role into the increase or decrease of kids getting abused and stuff. But like I said, I knew that because it was hard to get for me to say yes to that board, because I'm just like, oh, this is just again very emotionally draining because these are our kids. But I was just like, okay, if I can help out in the back end and use my skill set and resources there to make an impact, yes, I will.
Yeah.
Even still, it was hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
It's just draining.
Yeah, for sure.
But those are some.
Yeah. Shelby says, Bronze Station represented here. Looking forward to hearing more from you.
Yes.
So, real quick back on the transportation thing. Do you think it's too late for buses or trains here in San Antonio? Do you think something else can happen? Because I don't know what else we can do other than buses. I know I've heard about rail, but
and full disclosure, I rolled off the VIA board when I started my work with SA Digital Connect, so it's been over a year. But the thing is, like older cities or cities that were set up with rail, like Chicago and Boston, they're just set up a whole lot different than San Antonio. Like they have density. They have density downtown, right? They're all in high rises, and that's why rail works wonderfully there. San Antonio, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, I mean, we're really spread out.
Yeah.
Like we're really, really spread out. We don't have that density downtown and stuff. And so I think, when looking at the whole thought of rail, it's hard because it's expensive. I'm like, we can't even get a lot of funding for buses. We can't even
get these potholes fixed, guys. We have Broadway and St. Mary's and Commerce Street all broken down.
I know. So that's one component. But what VIA is doing, like the advanced rapid transit, is kind of like the best of both worlds, where like the buses are going to have a dedicated lane, so they can still move very quickly, but you're not doing the rail infrastructure, because that's the expensive part, you know. So I think they're announcing, or they may have already announced, advanced rapid transit. They're going to do a north-south corridor and then an east-west corridor. I don't know the dates or anything like that, but I do think that will help get people moving. And it's not investing in rail because that's pricey, but it's investing in a bus to have a dedicated lane to move just as fast. Because I also think that when you're sitting in your car and you see that bus passing you, you're going to want to get on the bus next time, right? Like, hey,
don't follow behind the bus, guys. Right. Come on.
I'm going to want to get on that bus because it's getting point A to point B faster.
Right. So. Well, and also the Via Link, I thought that was a good one. Yeah. I know it's slowly starting to roll out, but I feel they could have done that in a better part to begin with, like as far as like to people who really need, because it was on our side, it was on my side of town, on the northeast side. I'm like, but what about like the south side or the east side or the west side? Like
there is reasons on starting that, and I don't recall them all. We were just excited to start that pilot program, and say, hey, let's see if this works. And I mean, it's taken off like wildfire, so it's good.
I'm seeing more and more of those. Okay, and then let's see. Switch gears. What is your favorite spot to hang out? Well, not hang out, but favorite spot on District 7, like go eat, or yeah, let's do like a restaurant.
A restaurant. Well, there's
Has to be like a mom and pop one,
yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
and not like it doesn't have to be favorite, but like something that you maybe frequent a little bit, or something.
Yeah. I mean, oh God, there's a lot. I mean, I will say, I am around the Woodlawn Lake area a lot, and so, but I will say a restaurant that I'm constantly at that never, I mean, is always good is Florida Chiapas on Bandera Road.
Okay.
It's just taco hole in the wall.
Hey, those are the best.
We eat there all the time. I just feel like I'm constantly there, and that's probably
you're like, can I have my own combo special? Yeah.
So
that's good. Just so everybody knows, you can comment on here. You can ask a question to Marina as well. We are at Wild Barley Kitchen and Brewery, so come on down if you want to come down today or some of the other interviews as well. You can ask questions directly. Come have a drink or something to eat.
But can I also add, yes. One of the things that we're starting to schedule is coffee with the candidate every Saturday morning. So if there are good coffee shops that y'all want me to be at, it's just going to be a Saturday morning thing. And I just wanted to kind of hit up all the coffee shops in District 7, not all of them, but, in different locations. So if there are fan favorites, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. And those are always good because you get to have a one-on-one kind of thing. And that's all this whole thing is too, is like be able to ask a question. Oh, okay, here we go.
I love these one-on-ones.
Shelby says, how do you feel you can best represent D7? I'll read the whole thing and then maybe if you want to, I would love to see our district represented as a unity as opposed to divided political sides. I think a lot of us might be tired of the drama within our city council members that we are, and just want to see everybody working and representing us well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of have had a whirlwind of just events, know, with that. I mean, I think one of the things that I do love about the city council seats is that it's nonpartisan, right? Because we should be focusing on issues that impact neighbors, us, neighborhood associations, residents. So, it is that it is focused so much on the resident and the neighborhood associations that you don't have to say, hey, I'm Democrat, hey, I'm Republican, or these issues. Like that's, it's nonpartisan.
Right.
And so I think getting us away from having those tangled conversations is already awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate that politics has gotten so divisive. But, one of the things that I like to focus is, and especially for District 7, are the things that unite us, right? Because we all are going to have neighborhood concerns, right? Yeah. We're all going to have concerns about our houses and our areas and stuff. And so really kind of teasing those out because those are subjects that do unify us.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let me ask a question because I heard this from one city council member. I'm not going to say who it is, but, a vote came down to city council and, they had stated that even though they had gotten a lot of calls in from constituents to vote the opposite way, the person voted their way that they thought was best, because that's why they voted that person in to begin with. How do you feel about that stance? Do you feel like you would also be that way? Or do you think that, obviously the constituents have to be in your area because you can have random people calling you.
Sure.
But if you have a lot of people telling you, hey, constituents, not corporations or whatever, but constituents saying, look, this is what I feel about it. And if it's obviously legitimate, will you side with the actual constituents or what you feel is best in your process, in your thought?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think one of the things is like, for me, if I were to be elected, I am a public servant. The community is my boss. Residents are my boss. you know? And so I think it's important to listen to them and be representative of what the community wants, you know? And so, sure, I can have my own opinions and stuff, but my job is to represent,
Right.
you know? And so I think that I'd have to act accordingly.
Yeah.
Like I said.
And obviously, I'm not saying like, oh, you're going to every time. I'm just
Right.
saying, you know, with those situations that are maybe like a high profile issue or something that, you know, are you going to hear them out,
Yeah.
speak to them, you know, not just say, well, I hear you, but I'm going to vote this way because this is what I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, to me, the community is my boss. The residents
Mhm.
are my boss, you know, and stuff. And so I answer to them, right? I answer to the residents of District 7. I think, you know, it is interesting. I know that just in general, how I like to work is, sure, someone might have an opinion one way, but I love to ask them, okay, well, like, how would you argue the other side?
Right.
Right? Because it's like, there's two sides to every
Mhm.
argument,
Yeah.
you know? And so I just like to, you know, whether it is a neighborhood issue or another issue in general, like, let's look at it from the other side and
Right.
let's be able to create talking points
Yeah.
for the other side. Because I think it just kind of like level sets everyone.
Right.
You
You're
know?
just one sided on it.
Yeah, we can't be one-sided on these things. We have to just think through it from both angles and figure out the best solution.
Right. Awesome. Great answer.
Thanks.
Ding. Stephanie Villela. I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm sorry. Viela. Barrio Barista Coffee Shop would be a great place for coffee with the candidate. There we go.
That's a good. I have gone there several times.
Yeah.
I need to go there. I haven't. I need to go more often. But you know, it's my husband and I, when we had just one of our daughters, we would go try a new coffee shop every Saturday. And so we went to Barrio Barista. And I mean, I still haven't tried because they have the barbacoa grilled cheese, I think.
Oh, okay.
I still haven't tried that. But I would just get coffee there. And then I used to be on the St. Mary's alumni board. And so I would go over there, grab a coffee, and then go to the meetings. So it was nice.
So, man, we need to go over there.
Yes, no, it's good. Yeah, you got to check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I need to take that note.
Yeah, right. Take the note. So with good friend of mine with Jefferson Bodega.
Yes.
They just had their block party.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there are a lot of issues with some of the residents near that area because they're like, well, what's going on? But we've also seen, because we did a food drive there once. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there was obviously a lot of cars. And people were still upset at that. Yeah. So how do you feel how do you think you would handle those situations where, you know, a entity is trying to give back to the community? Yeah. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of people that maybe are upset in the area. They were upset that they blocked off the Donaldson. Yeah. So how do you feel you would go approach that situation?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Well, one, I mean, I grew up right there, right off of Donaldson, you know, and I'm excited. We have a meeting with with Jefferson Bodega coming up soon. But and you know, I take my girls there to shop on after school treats. You know, 'cause, you know, I will just say those Oreo whoopie pies.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just like, this is dangerous, you know. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of seeing it evolve in a really heightened, ugly sort of way with St. Mary's Strip, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of us are just paying attention on what's happening there. Now, sure, they don't like Donaldson doesn't have the road closure because of the construction like St. Mary's Strip. Like, right, you know, right. They have a lot of complexities and dynamics that has just made it such a issue that it is. Yeah. And my heart goes out to the businesses. My heart goes out to the residents. Like, it's just messy, you know, there's no simple solution. But honestly, I think like with that, you know, it's there's so many small businesses in the community who want to do good for residents and want to do good for the community. And I just think that sometimes there just has to be that shared understanding. And honestly, I feel like so much of it could be solved with just communication beforehand. Like, hey, let's sit down.
Yeah. And you know that was something we had talked about. That they tried communicating with these businesses that were near there, and they like did 3 times and no response. And then when they did, they're like, "Why didn't you call me?" Like, we did, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of those things, and
I don't know a lot of those nuances, but you know, I do think in general, like that is the right approach. It's just, hey, let's talk this through. Like, let's set expectations and just have kind of that shared understanding. I mean, I think 9 times out of 10 that would help solve it, but you know, there's probably a lot of whole other nuances.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure like there's people, they don't want that extra traffic, and you know, but at the end of the day, is I know you're not going to be able to please everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's just handling the situations, like how they come to you. It's going to be one of those things, like you're going to have certain residents, you're going to have small businesses that are like, hey, we just want to, you know, have some fun in a sense and keep it, you know. So
they want to make their neighborhood thrive too. So yeah, there is a lot of dynamics, and I think that's just one of the things that hey, if we keep the community and the each other as the North Star, like there's ways to work this out.
Yeah,
there's a messy middle, but like let's get in that messy middle and figure it out.
And just throw each other that way. Betty Eckert. Oh, sorry, my sign's wrong. Betty Eckert says, be like,
just so it's out of your way.
Betty Eckert says, what city or county committees have you served on? Betty, she has served on so many committees. We will be here all day now, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I did mention earlier, I served on the Bexar County Child Welfare Board. City committees, actually, I don't think I've ever been on a city committee. I've done a lot of just, you know, via, I was the founding executive director of Tech Block, that really kind of rallied the city around accepting rideshare back. This was years ago. I was the chairwoman for Move Texas to register and educate young voters, or voters in general. And then, you know, the UTSA College of Engineering Advisory Board, and
does the Digital Connects, that's a nonprofit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a public-private community collaboration and focus on addressing the digital divide.
So it is a nonprofit, or is not a nonprofit?
It is.
It is? Okay. But it's like a 501c3.
Okay. Yeah. But it is we work with the city.
Okay. So with that, like, is there going to be any conflict of interest with being in Digital Connects and that? Yeah,
we already talked about it, and that was one of the things, you know, like when we heard about Anna resigning, it's like, okay, how are we going to work through this and stuff? So I have taken the role, left the role of executive director to taking the role as a strategic advisor.
Okay.
So that way, I'm not interacting with the city, you know, and there is no weirdness, you know, and stuff. And so I can just lead the team on the back end, and be a strategic advisor during the campaign.
Yeah. No nepotism.
Yes. Just keep it clean.
Keep it clean. So I got my old school notes. How do you plan for rest or self-care?
I work out a lot. I'm a 5 a.m.er. Yes. So I go to Oso CrossFit downtown, and it's great. It is, you know, that's just how I work out my stress and my frustration. I'm also a morning person, so I just I love, you know, coming back, you know, work out 5 to 6, and sitting outside with she was a community cat, but I adopted her and named her Meow Mix. So I just like sitting outside and, you know, being a little still in the morning before I have to start making breakfast and get my girls ready for school. So
the calm before the storm.
Yeah, the calm before the storm, definitely. And then I'm also a runner. I run a lot. I run around a lot around Woodlawn Lake. I run all the way around Jefferson High School, all up and down all those streets. And I love it. So.
What do you think, like infrastructure wise, District 7 needs? Because you run down in that area, so you obviously see the streets and everything like that. So what do you think what do you think infrastructure wise it needs?
Yeah, I mean, some of the streets they need help. They need help, you know. I mean, you don't even have to be like you're driving the speed limit and you're just like, whoa, you know, your car is bouncing all over the place. So yeah, some of them need help. But you know, again, it's about, hey, where we at on getting the street fixed and really kind of working through that.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I feel like a lot of city councils' primary focus is not on infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem because that's really the primary goal. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm with you. Like, I feel like our streets, like all of us interact daily with it, you know? And so, and then again, like street safety, that's coming up a lot too. That is our interaction with our city because this is right here. So I agree with you. I think it should be a priority. I'm not going to say whether it's been a priority for the rest of the council or not. I have no idea. But I agree with you. It's that it is a main interface.
Yeah, for sure. You were on the board for San Antonio Report. Super quick. Like
super quick.
I was like, Boop.
Yeah.
Even though it was short lived though, what were you hoping to get out of it?
You know, I have always been a fan of the San Antonio Report. When it was also to the Rivard Report. I mean, I think that they go deep into issues. Like I said, when people have pinged me about, hey, I want to get involved in the city, I want to do this, like how do you do this? I tell them, I'll read the San Antonio Report because sooner or later there's going to be an issue that they cover in depth, whether it's homelessness, whether it's animals, whether it's the stray animals, whether it's different neighborhoods. I think it can really pique people's interest, and they can, like I said, they go deep on the issue. I'm a big fan of a lot of their journalists. And so I was excited to learn more and really dive deep into the organization and add value where I could. But yeah, it was very short-lived. I only got to attend one meeting. And so, but, as soon as I made the decision, calling them and formally resigning, had to be done.
For sure.
But I still read it every day in my inbox.
What are your, do you enjoy journalism, as a personally, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the media PR world, but I love to read all of our different sources. Oh, okay. San Antonio Report, Axios San Antonio just came out. I read the Express News and My SA and all the things. So, yeah. Like to know what's going on. Yeah,
exactly. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's how I found out you were running. Yeah. From that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you've been on a lot of boards, right? Mm-hmm. I'll get to you here, Betty and Shelby. Just give me a second. You've been on a lot of boards. How are you using your knowledge? Just can you explain to people just what being a board kind of means in a sense of how it can in turn be impactful for the community?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, board service, I think all the boards I've been on don't get paid a dime, right? So this is all your volunteer time. I mean, actually, I think for the VIA board, you can get paid, but I couldn't get paid because I was at USA. So it is your time, and it is a lot of time, so diving in deep on the issues. I feel that I've built up great corporate experience. And so I bring that to the board and I'm asking questions. Okay. For like a smaller board, what do our finances look like for the next 3 months? Are we okay with staff? Are we okay with that? Like, are we okay with those logistics? I always feel like, as for a board member, it is being a good thinking partner for the executive director. It's about, not definitely not in the day-to-day operations. That's what the
Right.
CEO or executive director needs to do. But it is about how are we going to take this organization and move it forward? Again, for VIA, our biggest thing was funding. For the Berry County Child Welfare Board, it's like, okay, child abuse is just such a complex and it's a hard problem, but let's think of it differently. Let's think on how we're going to solve this differently. My time at Move we were in startup mode. So we were fundraising fast and furious. And so that was exciting. That was mostly, my contribution on that board, and Move has evolved, in a whole bunch of wonderful different ways. But for that portion of that organization's lifestyle, lifespan, we were focused on fundraising. So I think I could just add my experience, just kind of got to dig in and help however you can. But again, it is all volunteer time. And so I felt like, sure, in general, 8 to 5, you have your corporate job.
Yeah.
But then I was just giving back in all the ways I could through lunches or nights or weekends, and that just kind of filled my public service bucket while I was working in corporate America.
Let me ask you, how can you translate that into the general public? Because a lot of people are going to say, they're going to hear boards, yes, community help with that, but how can you translate it to them to where they feel comfortable that you're not just some corporate entity, corporate person?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, I think corporations play an important role in our city. They employ a lot of us, right? They give a lot of families wonderful benefits and they're an important part of what makes our city wonderful. But some of the things that I've learned from that are just business skills and accountability, right? And being able to ask tough questions, being able to ask and think differently. Those are all skills that I gained from growing in the corporate ladder.
Right, and but how are you going to translate to them? Because you're going to be like, oh, you just think you know more than I do.
Oh, no. No. I mean, I think one of the things, for instance, one of the things that we take is the Strengths Finder. Have you ever heard of Strengths Finder?
Yes.
Yeah, and so you kind of go in and do this assessment, and it tells you one of the things you're good at. And for me, one of the things that I love to do and is one of my strengths is learning. I just love the process of learning. I never and have never been the smartest person in the room. I think it's important that we go and listen. Nobody knows the neighborhood like the neighbors.
Yeah.
And so it is important that we listen, that I listen and learn, and then I can go take my magic and do my and have my experience and push and get stuff done. Just get stuff done.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, because I know there's a lot of people.
There's a balance.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that, we could be saying whatever it is, and they're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Sure.
And it's just not dumbing it down, but in a sense, because they're not in this area arena like
I get it.
we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Sure.
so it's just it's difficult for those people sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, to me, and serving on a board is a little whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that for me, I'm just okay, how can I be a thinking partner? How can I help the CEO or the executive director think about how to move this organization? And then how do you get into support mode to do that?
Yeah, for sure. Betty asked, you have a big drainage problem in D7. Are you aware of it, and how will you take care of it?
Yes, I am very aware of it. Like I said, spend a lot of time near Woodlawn Lake, and so we kind of get the effects of it too. After it rains, you should see is the lake is filled with trash. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's disgusting. And so we, yes, I'm aware of it. As for what to do, I don't have the solution right now. I think that there's an environmental component. There's yeah, obviously the water and the water flowing component. I know that in our Woodlawn Lake Neighborhood Association meetings, we've come up with different potential solutions. And so, but it's just working with parks and figuring out how all of that flows. Working just with like the River Authority and figuring out like
a lot of
how
moving
is this
parts.
there's a lot of moving parts, but it is, I mean, it does impact a lot of us, you know, and stuff. And so I do think that needs to get sorted out because it's, you know, it just, whether it's flooding for some others or it's trash accumulation for others, it does impact a lot of us.
Like the foundation issues, and it just gets even worse. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that question. Shelby asks, street safety is big. I'm a new mom and active in our neighborhood, and I know so many of us would love to see less speeding and nightly suspicious activity from drivers. I'm sure that will be a big task when in the office.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, you know, I see it. I feel on a daily basis, and again, it just hurts my heart because it's right next to a playground and it's right next to a basketball court and it's right next to a softball field, and I'm like, you know, and you know, we're working with our park police. This is specific to like Woodlawn Lake, but it's hard because like the park police are, hey, call us, and I'm like, I can call you, but they've already sped off, right? You know, so it's just like, you know, and so, but you know, I feel you because I do think it is a problem, and we need to think about this problem differently because I don't know. We need to find a solution.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I see people speed, especially like in school zones. Like I'm honking at people, hey, you know, but it's like they don't care. You know, so I'm just like, I don't even know if there is even a solution because it's like people are just gonna do what they want. But like, how do you know whether it's traffic cameras or you know? But traffic cameras don't work because they're illegal anyway. Like you can't do stoplight cameras, but. Yeah,
I think that there's natural ways, or there's like obviously speed bumps or lights or whatever. But you know, I think one of the things that I learned by being part of the Woodlawn Lake Neighborhood Association is like if there's streets with more trees, you know, lining the street, then people just naturally slow down. So I think that obviously this is a huge problem, not just exclusive to District 7. And so like let's go research like what works, what doesn't work, and figure out what do we do on our streets, because it is, I mean, again, that's, you know, as a mom of little ones, like, oof, it gets you.
I know. I'm like, I'm always watching down the street. I'm like, I don't even want them to go outside sometimes because it's like, you know, when the whole transportation thing is, I wonder how, like, has anybody looked at like how, because I came back from there recently from Disney World.
I know
they like knock it out of the park.
Totally knock it
They're
out.
Like boom, boom, boom. Like you know, and granted, I know it's its own entity. There's a lot of things happening there, but I just make it happen.
I will say yes, make it happen. It can only happen with funding, you know. And like I forget all of the percentages, but like our public transportation system is just severely underfunded. You know, and so, and it's hard, right? Like if you're in a car and you're only in a car, like why are you going to vote for the public transportation system that you might not ever use? And I think it's just kind of getting people out of their silo into thinking for the bigger community impact. Like that's a mindset shift, right? Like let me not think about me and my car. Let me think about, is it good for the community in general? You know, and maybe obviously with the last funding campaign, it was successful for them to think, hey, I may never take VIA, but a good city needs a good public transportation system. Like that would be one.
Yeah, well, you look at parking. Parking's like
Parking's
ridiculous,
hard.
right? You know, and somebody posted they were showing a coffee shop, right? Probably something like in Italy, where
Yeah.
you just have a bunch of people getting coffee, sitting down in the corner.
Mhm.
Whereas you have like America, it's Starbucks, and there's just a line
Yes,
of cars.
I
You know,
know.
it's just
It's true. I know it is true. And I also think a lot of this has to do with like urban planning and urban design and all of that stuff. Skill set, like that. I mean, that's a whole other
Right.
bucket that I'm not going to claim to know a lot about. But I do think that that plays a factor.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like when we first moved back, when I first moved back to San Antonio, I'm saying we, like my husband and I, we had bought a house up north, and I would take the bus downtown, like when I would signed up for like the San Antonio Rock and Roll Half Marathon or whatever, and the bus would only come once an hour, and so I had to make sure I was there. Luckily, I lived 2 houses away from the bus stop, so it was easy. I'd just like run out. But also, I will say, I know, like I would. There's a whole, like, if you've never taken the bus, it's kind of like at first hard, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, where do I buy a bus ticket? How much do I need? Where can I just like pay for it on the bus or not? Like, it's kind of hard to plan out the route. So one of the things that I worked on when I was on the VIA board is kind of like, first timer, here's what you do, because again, if you didn't grow up taking the bus, like there's already that barrier, I'm like, do I need to go to HEB and buy a ticket? I don't know. What do I do? And so anyways, I would take the bus and to go downtown to the convention center, because I'm like, I'm not going to pay for parking at the convention center, and it's like difficult to find parking and all that stuff. But I also loved taking the bus, especially with my little girls, because it always leads to really interesting conversation. They're just like, hey, what's this and what's that? And I'm like, we're all one city, And so I like the conversation that it led to.
For sure. I'll be honest, I haven't been on a bus in a while.
Yeah.
But I used to when I was little. But,
yeah.
It's just, the first thing you do is like, okay, I got to get a car. You're like, I would just want to get a car because I don't want to be, and it's tough because you want everything to be accessible, convenient, all that stuff. But
but it also takes money.
It takes money.
I wish I've went to Disney once, and I was pregnant, so I was a little miserable. I was 5 months pregnant with our second daughter. So I do remember sitting on that train being like, wow.
The bus is like, okay, oh, I missed the bus. Okay, another one's going to come in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Right, exactly. And here, like I said, the old house is once an hour.
Yeah.
So if I missed it, you're screwed.
Yeah. And then
Good luck getting to work on time.
Right, exactly.
But again, like VIA could operate with more frequency if it was funded.
Well, okay. Well, here's this thing. A lot of funding is going towards the public, like police department, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it's called. Safety.
Yeah.
So
that bucket.
Yeah. So are you possibly maybe to look at? I know this is a tough subject because a lot of people say, well, it's defunding, but I'm not saying defund. I'm just saying like the reallocation of some of the funding from somewhere else. Like where, I'm sure you've looked at the budget at some point.
Yeah. In general.
Yeah, in general.
I haven't looked at it.
Right. Do you think something needs to move over, or what priorities do you think are necessary in the budget that you might be looking for?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that the city budget process, and I'm not going to pretend to know a whole lot about it. I mean, I know in general, kind of like by reading the news, it should reflect like the priorities of the city, and so I do know safety gets a chunk. I'm not sure how much.
855 million.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a big chunk.
Yeah.
It's the biggest chunk actually of our stuff.
But then at the same time too, we also see like how the homicide rates and murder rates went up too. So that's also a chicken and an egg.
Yeah.
I think it's a sensitive subject. But I will just say, I do think that our city budget should be reflective of our priorities. And again, to me, like, if I'm able to campaign successfully, if I'm able to earn people's trust and support and be in this position, that it is about listening and learning and saying, hey, for the residents of District 7, this is the priority, and then become the messenger for that.
Now, what's going to happen if it conflicts with a corporate sponsor or something that's sponsoring you? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, you just go to your core of, I serve the community. Okay. I serve the residents. That is my job. Like, it is a one line job description, right? Yeah. Like, I'm here to represent.
Yeah, so. I agree. And it's just because we see it a lot. A lot of us see it. You're backed by certain sponsors. You're like, well, sponsoring, or I'm close to this, and they want me to vote a certain way. It's difficult, but at the end of the day, is how are you going to?
Yeah, and I think one of the best books I ever read, this was a while ago, is a book called Crucial Conversations, and I can't remember who the author is. I'm sorry to forget, but it's a great book, and it taught you how to have those difficult conversations, because I can leave a conversation and totally disagree with someone. Mm-hmm. It's just about how you say it. It's about how you get to the point of shared agreement. Yeah. And it's not going to be easy. No. And we're going to come from two different angles. But again, I feel like that is some good experience that I can bring to the table of just like, hey, let's agree to disagree, and this is why. Mm-hmm. Because this is my role, and this is your role, and this is your agenda, and this is my agenda, and we don't have to hate each other if we disagree. But I do think having crucial conversations, and also being up for having crucial conversations and not avoiding crucial conversations, is important.
That happens a lot.
It does happen a lot, and I think that's why things get so messy, right? Because people are like, "Oh no, I don't want to approach it," but sometimes you have to. Yeah. And I think that when you have to and may agree to disagree, then there's just a lot more respect on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. And that's why I ask you that, because I know it's a difficult conversation, like question to ask, but I just think it's needed because a lot of people want to know how you would react. Yeah. And later on the line, did you hold up to that value?
Yeah, exactly. What I mean?
So
I agree.
Lisa asks, hi, is there any other city that you have been to that you aspire San Antonio to be like?
Oh, that I aspire San Antonio to be like. I mean, I think San Antonio has our own just unique identity. I think our culture is so beautiful. And I think that so many other cities wish they had like a fraction of that, and just the community, hey, Mija, how are you? Like that, like you can't buy. No. You cannot buy that, right? And so I think that sometimes, like when I've traveled to, Boston or Chicago or whatever, or just other cities,
it's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe. And we have that energy here, and it's beautiful, and we need to just protect it at all costs, right? Mm-hmm. Now, sure, are other cities set up with different, like, amazing infrastructure? Yeah. Chicago, Boston, like New York. I ran the New York City Marathon a long time ago. But, like my husband is always biggest cheerleader, and he always has to plot out where he's going to see me. And he took the New York Rail, all the places to see me at different points. And you're just like, man, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Like, y'all have this. I wish we had it, so there's definitely, I think more infrastructure things that other cities had that we wish we had, or like how sometimes, and I think that there's work being done here to build it, but like the downtown density, like that's kind of cool. Like when you go to big cities and you're just like, oh wow, like people just come out, and there's energy and hustle and bustle there. We don't really have that too much here yet, but I think it's definitely growing.
Yeah, well, especially like downtown
with UTSA and all the students that are going to be there. I think it's coming.
Yeah. Well, and then also talks about moving the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that one about moving. I think it was towards the west side, like out of like 1604 areas. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really. I've heard about it. I
Mhm.
haven't really studied up on all the different angles or options
Yeah,
about it. So,
because they got rid of that one that now where UTSA is at,
mhm.
and I don't know how people feel about that jail being there on the west side, but
Yeah.
you know,
No, it'd be interesting to hear people's thoughts and opinions on it. I know that when she was the commissioner, Commissioner
mhm,
Berry was
yeah,
talking about moving and stuff. So I was just like, well,
yeah,
an interesting thought. I think we
it
should
is.
study it and see like the pros and cons.
That's
And
gonna be a hard one. That's gonna be a
that
hard sell.
is, it is.
It's-
But at the same time too,
yeah.
like I mean, yeah, I could see pros and cons.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just. But I'd
yeah,
have to go research it
for
and
sure,
learn.
for sure. How are people? How do you feel about the property taxes that people are dealing with right now, and how you can help? I know obviously city council cannot do anything
Yeah.
regarding that, but how do you feel like you would be voting with certain things like with limitations or?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think at its core is that people need more information sessions, right? And like, okay, if I don't do this, then this is going to happen or whatever. And so, I think that that needs to happen because in when I've talked to different residents and neighbors, there's just a whole cloud of
Don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on, and this is stuff we should all care about. But if and so I think that there just needs to be kind of a information sharing and education. How do I dig in? What happens next? If
Yeah.
I do this, what what could happen next? Like, could it be yes or no or A or B or C? Whatever. And I see kind of like information swirl,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's where we're at right now. And so I think that there just needs to be some early campaigns.
Right. Well, and that's when I did an information session with the chief appraiser,
Oh, cool.
and the assistant chief appraiser, and then after that, they told me they're like that was the most engagement we've ever had.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not
that's
even
awesome.
I'm not even anybody. Like,
Yeah.
so
No.
the
But
fact that nobody else is like, why not? Let's like,
Yeah, we need
let's
to
get
do
that
that.
done.
Yeah,
'Cause-
we need. I agree. Why can't we have those conversations at like neighborhood association meetings, at community meetups and stuff? Because something that impacts all of us, and
Right.
we need to. I think that there just again needs to be um, some good intention around.
Yeah, it's not
information sharing.
taboo to protest
Right.
your property taxes.
Right. Yeah.
Even they tell you they're like protest your property taxes.
Right.
So if the chief appraiser is saying
Mhm.
that, then
Yeah.
what are you doing? Betty Eckert says, one more question. How do you feel about food trucks parking in neighborhoods and selling alcoholic beverages and drinks?
Oh wow. Like in neighborhoods. It's interesting.
Are you talking about like
That would be
like
it.
with the what happened with the bodega or like with the food trucks parking there? Or
Yeah, I'd have to go learn about
Yeah.
that issue some more.
I mean,
I didn't I wasn't aware of like yeah, no, or is
yeah,
Betty?
Betty, if
Yeah, I'd love to pick your brain.
Yeah,
and I'd
yeah.
love to go learn more about that because I don't have
right.
opinions on
Because
that.
I know the bodega had food trucks there and stuff. Don't know about the alcoholic beverages, but I know they sell from the bodega, which
Yeah.
is normal. But you
Yeah.
know, I don't think because I think she lives somewhere else in
Okay.
that district.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's see here. The 12-mile rapid transit plans north and south will cause us to lose homes in my neighborhood. It will.
Interesting.
Well, she had a question mark. So
No, because it's going to go along, and again, I don't want to speak on behalf of VIA because it's been a while, but the last I saw, I think was going to go up and down San Pedro. So
okay.
it's not buying any land. It's literally just kind of like dedicating a lane for the bus,
Oh, okay.
so that way the bus can move fast.
Oh, okay.
So
Like a what is
it's-
it?
you do see it in other cities where like the lane is just painted red
green or yeah,
green
right,
or
right,
whatever.
right.
Just only buses can go in there.
Kind of like the HOV lanes that we
Yeah,
have
kind
now.
of.
But
Yeah.
it will not increase. Well, she's saying it will not increase transportation, and dedicated lanes should only be for SAFD and SAPD. We need lanes to evacuate if necessary.
Yeah.
Some of this area is in a floodplain or flood plan. Will you consider these things when voting?
Yeah, I mean, I know, like because working on those logistics, I thought that there was some coordination with emergency
Mhm.
management, but I don't feel I don't want to answer on
Yeah.
behalf of VIA right
No
now.
worries,
You
no
know,
worries. Well, with that though is with the CPS issue where
Mhm.
a lot of people feel like there's not no accountability for it.
Mhm.
How do you feel on that issue, and how do you think you would vote in the future if anything comes from CPS?
Oh, good question. I mean, I will just say, I think one of the things is um, because people, residents after Snowvid or, the snowstorm during COVID, demanded CPS communicate with us more. And holy crap, have they, right? Like, is everybody getting, I feel like we're just kind of getting like a good communication on what's going on and so definitely think that has been positive. With the surplus, yes, that one was tricky. I think you saw different angles and on how to use that funding and yeah, that one.
It to me it seemed like it was just like, well, look, we're just going to spread it out because we can't legally charge you all up front, so we're just going to spread it out. So we still got, you know, charged for it. We was just spreading it out, which if they would have just done it in one get go, it would have been illegal for them to do that. So I think that's where the big issue is, where people don't trust that CPS and city council allowed that to happen. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely love to go hear people's experience and their input on that.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I was paying attention definitely to the headlines, but I'd be curious to and I know that it was again, it wasn't like a crazy hot topic with our neighborhood association, but we was just like, hey, council members, come talk to us about this. And I think obviously in general people are like, hey, we don't want our bill to go up, but there was just other ways on how to use that funding. So yeah, I mean, but I think that in general, council has given the feedback to CPS to be more transparent, right? Like that's already kind of happened.
Yeah, but it was kind of like a take my word for it kind of thing. That's what that's what it was projected.
Yeah,
but,
it'd be interesting to. That is something I'm going to go and learn people's different perspectives on it.
For sure. So before we close out, how can people get a hold of you? How can people volunteer?
Yeah. So my email is marina@voteformarina.com. Well, let me double check. We're in Marina, MARINA at voteformarina.com, VOTEFOREMARINA.com. Obviously, you can find me on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Message me. Like I'm getting, been answering just a ton of one-on-one messages. I'm available. I'd love to meet you all. Residents in District 7, well, anybody, but residents in District 7 is my focus right now.
Yeah.
Love to connect and earn your support.
Awesome. Do you have any events that are going to happen?
Yeah,
soon?
so we're scheduling out the Coffee with a Candidate right now, and so those will be Saturday mornings. I think 9:30 is the time we're doing it, and I'll be posting on social media platforms what coffee shop's next, and stuff, so people can plan to attend. And we're going to be doing it again all throughout the district, so that way you can go to the ones closer to you.
Yeah, gotcha. So, yeah. Awesome.
But also, starting to schedule a lot of coffee meet and greets in people's homes is just so impactful, you know, because again, I love those one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
Like, let's look at each other in the eye and talk and hear each other out, meet each other. Again, you know, I just think like that is community,
Yeah.
right? We're all just sitting in a living room, having fun, listening, coffee, and talking. And so that stuff is important to me. So, you know, if your neighborhood wants to get one together, or you want to host one, whatever, just let me know, because I want to be there. I want to meet you. I want to, you know, just learn about each other.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Mariana. I appreciate you coming on, and good luck.
Thank you. Hard work.
Oh, I know. It's
Yes.
good. But good luck, and we wish you many blessings, and hopefully we'll see what the outcome is, and we'll keep in touch.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, we will.
well, thank you, everybody, and this
Thanks.
is Alamo City Agenda, and tune in next week. We have City Council 5 candidates. So, all right, see y'all later.
Awesome.